Today, 19th of June 2019, it's International Watch Day. Did you know there was such a thing? Well, I didn't, and I do now.
And you work in watches?
And I work in watches. Absolutely, George. Yes, I work in watches, and I now know it's International Watch Day. But for me, every day's watch day. There's an Omega particularly I want to get out right now, so let's have a look at that. This is the Omega Seamaster 300. So to celebrate, I thought I'd put together my top 5 favourite watches. It's got to be on anyone's top 5 list of watches in terms of quality and value for money. It's got to be right up there. Classic watch, known affectionately as the Bond watch. No, there's no particular order for me on these. They're all great for their own, they've all got their own merits, and they're all great for lots of different reasons. First up, Seamaster 300. It's been around for a long time. I remember when I first started in the industry, the 2531 was becoming the classic known as the Bond watch, and over the years it's had more and more refinements. I think this current version, it's a classic look, a lot of great new features, it's got a lot of presence to it. They've introduced the wave dial back into this watch. It's an all-time classic. You know, anyone who's into their watches will recognise that watch straight away, but also it's tried and tested. If you go to the expense and you invest in a quality timepiece, ultimately you're doing that for your own satisfaction. But it's still pretty good when, you know, a colleague or a friend comments on your nice watch and asks you about it. You know, it's why we drive the cars we choose, and it's why we choose lots of different things. You know, it has a presence, and I think it's probably instantly recognisable for what it is. Watches in the film, so this is probably, out of everything we have here, this is one of the most famous watches in the film franchise, particularly the Bond franchise. And I'm one of those real sad geeks, George, that when I'm watching a film, I'll say to my missus, oh look, he's got an Omega on, or he's got a Tag Heuer Monaco, and she looks at me and just says, Paul, get a life, you know, which is a pretty fair point, to be fair. So yeah, I must try and get one. Obviously we can talk about all the refinement and details in that though, but all that information is out there available, so I'm not going to bore you by talking over the different specs. It's all available on our website, so you know, check it out. Next, quite a new addition to my top 5 because it's quite a new addition to the watch industry. The watch we've talked about before, but I'm thinking chrono. We've done a whole video on this piece. It's the Tudor Black Bay chronograph. Love this, absolutely love this watch. So we're certainly going to put this in my top 5. Look at it, I think it speaks for itself, you know? What a great looking watch, real classic, clean lines. I think an awful lot of watch for the money. Tudor at the moment, everything they're doing, quality versus value. What's interesting about this chronograph as opposed to other chronographs you may see, this one has a 45-minute chrono because this watch has been born out of their love and association with motorsport. And chronographs that were designed for motorsport, when cars are getting ready to start a race, they'll have 45 minutes prep time on the track at the starting grid. I love the simplicity, you know, easy to read. It's got a nice bright clear dial, great at night because of the superluminova that's used on the dial there, so it's nice and bright at night time. It's a classic schoolboy error there, George.
Put it the wrong way around. You call yourself a professional.
No. A great watch to actually change up on strap and NATOs and leather straps and things like that. It really does look good if you change this one up. Right, George, this way up to the back of the shop, there's a Navitimer I want to show you. Next watch I want to put in my top 5 is Navitimer. This is one hell of a gorgeous watch. The combination on this one I think is just very special. This model would be the one I'd probably upgrade this one for at some point. In a slightly larger case, I just love the rose gold on that and the coloration, the rose gold dials on this beautiful croc strap. It's got the BO1 movement, exhibition case back. The actual look of that watch has become so iconic. I know it's a word that gets used a lot in our industry, but it was a word that fits in this occasion. It's an iconic watch, but also look at it, it's just gorgeous. The Navitimer, of course, is born out of their connection, their long-standing connection to aviation. Breitling have sort of 3 pillars to their collection, land, sea, and of course air with the Navitimer. Right, that's 3, 2 to go. Keep an eye on those for me, make sure no one steals them, and I'm going to go and get a Bremont out the window. Bremont, as we know, is a very, very young brand, but what a great story. Bremont Martin-Baker. Great story, great watch. If you appreciate watchmaking, and when you think back to the greatest innovations in watchmaking over the watchmaking history have been by British watchmakers, and we've lost our industry to a degree, and Bremont are bringing that back. So for me, that puts them right up there as ones to watch. I think once you look at the details on this and the specification and appreciate what's gone into making this and how robust and tough this watch is, then I think you'll be impressed. Named after Martin-Baker, which is the manufacturer of ejector seats. So this watch is been tested to withstand being ejected from a fighter aircraft. So, you know, pretty tough. I think it will do you fine for going down Tesco's and getting your shopping, etc. We went to this event in London, the Townhouse event with Bremont, where we actually got to meet the watchmakers, and they got to show us how this triptych case is put together, the shock absorbers, the Faraday cages, and all what goes into the case manufacture and the hardened steel. So that was really interesting to really see what goes into it. Second Omega to make the top 5. This is the Omega Speedmaster Moonwatch, which is as close as you can possibly get to the watches that were worn on the moon landings back in 1969. Actually celebrating 50 years this year of the first and only watch to be worn on the surface of the moon, for obvious reasons. I was born in '69, I've got to have a moon watch in the collection. My mum would tell me of stories that when she was watching the moon landings, like the whole world was doing at that time on the fuzzy black and white TV screens, that she felt me kick for the first time. And then as I was growing up, she'd often tell me stories about the man and the moon. And so it's always been something in my life, the moon. And then obviously getting into the watch business, discovering the moon watch. So this will always be in my top 5. I've been lucky enough to own one or two over the years. My Grail watch is a 1969 version, but I need very deep pockets for one of those to find a good one in good condition. So this watch is such a classic. What a story. The first and only watch to be worn on the surface of the moon. You know, that's it. So you've got to check this watch out. Well, that was great. I love talking about watches. So that's my top 5. If any of those appear in your top 5 list, or you'd love to share with me what your top 5 watches are, then put some details in the comments below. We've written a blog on our top 10 watches, so please do check that out on our website. I could talk for hours in length and bore you crazy with these watches. And if you want that to happen, do come in and see me. We'll get a coffee and I'll bore the ears off you. But alternatively, a much simpler way to do that would be to visit our website, but we'd love to see you here in one of our stores as well.